Hey guys, Mosh here, and I just wanted to bring to you my first 4G phone, the Droid Razor. See how thin that guy is? I mean, like, this guy was the first 4G phone I had. Well, not the first smartphone, but definitely the first 4G phone that I've ever owned. In all honesty, it wasn't a bad phone. Before Google bought Motorola, and then Motorola sold it to a third-party company. I mean, Google, forgive me. Google bought Motorola, and then Google sold it to another company, which I'm not fond of. But either way, I mean, before Motorola started sucking with their phones, with the Droid line, unfortunately, I own two other phones. I own the first Droid, which I'm going to be doing a separate review. I'm going to be talking about this phone. This phone was, when it came out, besides the packaging, which I still have, which is freaking amazing, the way they packaged this phone. The packaging just itself was fucking amazing. Came with like a leather, like not leather, but like a thick coated kind of like leather-esque feel of a case, cardboard box. And it just has the Droid, it says Razor on it. It's just fucking amazing. Originally, they started off with flip phones. The original Razor, before it became an actual smartphone, before this, was an actual flip phone. Technically, I saw those in middle school a lot. It was very common. I had the LG Chocolate back in the day. Not in middle school, I had a different phone. But for me personally, I had the LG Chocolate at some point. I upgraded to a smartphone. My first smartphone was the 3G Droid with the text pad, and to be honest with you, that itself was amazing. But when I went to this phone, well, we're gonna get on to the review right now. I'm sorry about that. It's just, for me, it's nostalgic. This phone has so much nostalgia, to me. Like, it's very nostalgic, and for me, this phone's just the shit. I mean, this is where it's at, You got a SIM card that goes right there. The SD card goes right on the side right there at the bottom. The power button's off to the side. It was like a rocker button right here for the volume. And you got a 3.5 millimeter jack up top. See if I can focus that camera real quick. Yeah, sorry about that. 3.5 millimeter jack up top. This one is your HDMI port, and this one's the charge port. So everything was on top. The camera shoots in 1080p. It's HD. That was the thing back then before 4K. And you had I think it was an 8 megapixel camera here. And this one was like a 4 megapixel front facing camera. Gorilla Glass. And I love the fact that the Gorilla Glass is covering the camera. I really wish smartphones took that incorporation. Unlike my HTC One M8, where it's in the back and it's like two cameras, and when I had a friend give me a bag, it accidentally cracked one of the cameras, but that was before I bought it a hard case. So yeah, I had to like literally buy that one a hard case. But besides all that, I mean, like, this phone was fucking nostalgic. The positives to the phone, thin, as you can see. Sleek, doesn't weigh that much, due to the fact that the battery was sacrificed in that sense, and we'll get to that in a moment. The camera was pretty good on this thing, and the speaker right here wasn't that bad for its time. Fit in my pocket pretty good. I mean, at first I thought this was a pretty chunky phone when I saw it, but when I actually held it in my hands, I was like, no, this is pretty good. They came out with another version called the Droid Razor Max, because of the whole battery issue this thing had. So technically, as you can see how the phone's thin, right? It sacrificed a lot for the battery. When I was using this, I had it for 2 years with the contract. I always had to charge this motherfucker, no matter what. When I first had it on auto, I got probably about 5 hours worth of battery life. Depends on how frequently I was using my phone for the internet. I probably got about 3, so about 5 for casual use, and for heavy use around 3 hours when it was fully bright screened. Standby, you probably got 7. In between, I flexed to probably about roughly like 6 to 5 hours using it. I wasn't a heavy user back then for the internet on this thing. When I started using it more heavily, I set the brightness down, really down. When you do that, you can get 7 hours out of this thing, and then internet you can get probably about 5 hours. Definitely setting the settings on this phone for the brightness down really helps this phone shine in that sense. But that's the reason why they came out the Droid Razr Max, forgive me. And then eventually they upgraded those versions to the Droid Razr HD and then the Droid Razr Max HD, which came later in the line, with significant battery power. And then after that, that's when Motorola kind of, phased out and shitted out and all that shit. I mean, for its time, this phone wasn't really a bad phone. You got your home button, your search button right here, the back button. You got this menu option button where you can go into your menus. I mean, to be honest with you, this phone wasn't that bad when I had it. I actually enjoyed using it. I still love the design and the Kevlar backing. I mean, this thing is amazing. I'm not gonna lie. And I use this phone today for at least watching movies like YouTube and Showbox and other great applications that you can use on this phone. I mean, and I have it just in case as a backup, just in case if my other phone breaks. Because this is not a bad phone, even though technically it's really like a dinosaur now, and it's not a bad phone if you want it for like $50 on eBay. You can buy this phone and then just have it as a backup. If it's your first phone, I wouldn't recommend this one. I would recommend going for the Droid Razr Max or the Droid Razr HD, because that has the bigger battery life, even though it's more of a chunkier phone. But if you don't care about the battery life and you don't mind carrying a cord on you, then I highly would recommend this one in that sense. This phone definitely gets an 8 out of 10. I remember there were so many ads for this phone, like it was crazy how they would advertise this phone. Verizon, see? Yeah. Yeah, besides that, shout outs to Motorola. I really wish they came out with more simplistic but more like aggressive phones in that sense, because they are the pioneers to cell phones, the smartphones and all that stuff. They're the ones who send people to the moon. They're one of the first companies to get into the cell phone business, and they were unfortunately losing popularity due to the iPhone. I'm glad they took the Droid name and made something out of it, which if it wasn't for them, these things wouldn't exist, smartphones. I highly recommend this one if you're just out in the market and you just want to buy your grandparents something to introduce them to cell phones. Not this phone in particular, because the whole battery issue because of the thin back. Unless they don't mind that kind of a thing. But I definitely would recommend the Droid Razr HD, because honestly it has a bigger battery life. Or just go for the Droid Razr Max, because it has that battery life. And honestly, after I saw the Droid Razr Max, I kind of wanted to upgrade to that phone. But 2 years with this phone, it's a long time. So when the HTC M7 came out, which was in between the years I had this, a friend of mine was like, why don't you just get your next phone HTC M8? And that's when I got the HTC M8, and ever since then I just fell in love with that phone. This phone I still love. Like I said, it's not a bad phone to have as a backup, just in case anything happens to that one, God forbid. I ever want to go back to this one, but if I had to, I would. And it's not a bad phone. The only issue I had was like you can't double tap the screen like on the HTC, and then the power button right here gets worn out after tapping it so many times. Definitely it's a pain in the ass. I really wish they included some kind of second function as to what happens if the power button breaks. This phone will be garbage afterwards, in that sense. But unless if you can open up and fix the button, which I really don't want to. But besides that, not a bad phone. Alright. Hopefully you love this nostalgic rant / review. If you want more like this, just hit me up in the comment section. Let me know what you liked about the video, what you didn't like, etc, etc. Thanks for watching. This is Mosh for the Mosh and Posh Show. Peace, rate, love, and subscribe. Mosh out.